Hi, and welcome to yet another episode of Film Sandwich. I'm your host, Mark, and on today's episode, we're gonna learn all about skin tone. And we're gonna do it by testing these 5 lights behind us. I know you guys out there in YouTube world have always thought about, hey, what light should I buy for an LED light? I know LED lights can render skin tone one way or the other, and like, does it look as good as like tungsten or HMI lights? Well, today, we're gonna answer that question. So, we're gonna have the 1200 HMI light, which is gonna be the gold standard with a full spectrum. Then we're gonna have a 500 nan light, and we're gonna have a 600D aperture light, followed by 2 panel lights, which is the Astra 6x and the Gemini. Now you may be asking yourself, but wait, there's 3 hard light sources and 2 panel lights. Yes, this isn't a light test about softness and hardness, it's all about gonna be proper skin tone and rendered skin tone. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take each one of those lights and shoot them through a 4x full silk grid. And what that's gonna do is diffuse the light, make it look beautiful on our model, and of course, we're gonna take each light and back them up so that we can have a full, correct f-stop at the full power of the light. If the light has a switch to make it 5600 or a dial, we're gonna dial in every single light at 5600 Kelvin. Now, you're gonna say like, okay, that sounds great, but here, it even gets better. We're gonna take and we're gonna meter it exactly to an f-stop of my choice. So I'm gonna probably pick f8, I'll do the ISO, we're gonna make sure it's within exactly the power that we want it to be in. And then we have a color meter, which is super awesome. This is gonna measure the CRI as well as the spectrum, and it's gonna be awesome. And this is gonna tell us the quality of light hitting our model. And last but not least, to help us out with all this, is our beautiful model, Roseanne.
Hey guys.
That's Roseanne. She's got skin, and it looks way better than me or Ron. So let's go ahead and get started. First up is the Astra 6x. It's a panel light. We have it to full daylight at 56K, and we're gonna meter it up right now. Now, because I'm old school photographer, learning on film, I'm just go ahead and put my meter on 1000 ISO. Let's see what it meters up. So here we go, right on her face, and I'm f4. So at 60th, f4. So basically I have a base. So the important thing is, who cares about the aperture as long as we have a base. So we know that every light that's gonna be shot through this 4x needs to come in and hit her skin at f4. Now, let's see how accurate this light is. I'm gonna put this light meter down, which measures the intensity, and grab a color meter. Bam, color meter. Very expensive piece of gear. It's cool, but now I gotta turn it on, it's coming on, and this is gonna measure the color index, the CRI number, spectrum, and also the Kelvin. All right, so we're gonna put it right up against her, and let's go ahead and take a quick measurement. There we go. And now, believe it or not, the CRI, and we'll show you this big screen, full screen, is 95.8, which is the average, which is pretty good. Anything over 95 is pretty awesome. Now let's go ahead and see what the actual color balance is. Now remember, that dial was 56. It's 5608. I'm pretty impressed. With a light's about $1,000, light panel, 6x Astra, pretty awesome right now. All right, so now what we're gonna do is that we have all these numbers, and we're gonna go ahead and roll a little bit of footage with Roseanne, and then give you guys a little bit of pixel popping and see how she looks with this particular LED light. One thing I'll bring up too, going back to the CRI number right here, the R12, the blue channel, is a little less than the red channel, but the red is fully up there. All right, next up, we have the Gemini, which is about twice as wide as the 1x panel, and it's made by the same company, and it's a lot heavier light. So let's go ahead and meter up. Remember, we started with our base of f4, 1000 ISO. Boom. f4, 1000 ISO. We do a hard cut.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Cut, we're rolling.
Always turn off your ringer on your phone before you start any video. We should know that because we are professionals. Anywho, all right, here we go. f4, on the money right here. So we're about exactly the same power intensity as the Astra 1x. Now I'm gonna grab the color meter and let's check the spectrum and the CRI. Color meter here, and here we go. And Boom. So guess what? We have a color temperature of 5211. I'll do it one more time. Right to the light. So 5211. So this is not as accurate as the Astra was. So about 300, 200 Kelvin off. But honestly, we're talking just a 1 or 2%. Now let's go ahead and we'll click over on, I'll press the memory button so we can save that. And let's go ahead and click on over to the CRI. And the CRI, 96.8. So that's nice. When we can compare that with the other lights, I think that's really great for this kind of quality of light. And now let's look at the spectrum real quick. And we're gonna pull up the spectrum here. And there's a spectrum. And you can see we got a lot of different spikes. We have one blue spike, but it has pretty even all the way across the board and falls off on the reds. So it'll be interesting to see how that compares to the HMI light that we have, and we'll go from there. All right, the next light we have here is the Aperture 600D. And I gotta tell you, that's a bright light. At 100%, we had to push it way back in our studio and get a couple of 4x solids so that we can adjust the light so all the spill doesn't happen. So it looks the same as the other test. An F4 on the money with a Sconic light meter. Now we're gonna take it and get the color meter out and see how accurate the color is. All right, awesome color meter. Stand by as it turns on. And this is the Aperture 600D, and it's way back there. Like it's like 20 feet from the silk compared to like 5 feet from the panel lights. We kind of knew spot sources were gonna do that anyways, but still pretty impressed with the brightness of the aperture. All right, here we go. And the color accuracy is 52.8. I'm sorry. So 5533 Kelvin, which is 5500 Kelvin. And remember, we dialed at 56, so it's really close, within 100 Kelvin, which is awesome. Now, let's go ahead and take it over to the CRI. And here we go in the CRI. Ooh, 94.9. So this is the least so far. I shouldn't say least because I haven't tested all the lights, but it's 94.9. The Aperture and the Gemini had a better CRI index. That does not necessarily mean the skin's gonna look better or worse. It's just the way it metered on the calibrated light color meter. So let's go ahead and look at the spectrum. And I can tell you that right now, with R10 and R12, which are the ones you need to look at in CRI, the red and the blue are both about equally down the same amount of distance on this particular chart. Now, going back to spectrum, I'm gonna make this big, and the spectrum, very similar to the other lights that we have. We had the blue spike, and of course we're rolling off as well. But we'll have to look at this in more detail compared to the other spectrums. I'm going to head and press memory right now so that we have this in our memory as well. All right, next up is one of my favorite lights, the Nanlite 500 by Froza. And Foza? No.
It's the Nanlite 400
500.
Forza.
Nanlite Foza.
Nanlite is the company that makes it.
Next up is the Nanlite 500, one of my favorite lights. It's in our kit. I use it all the time. So let's go ahead and meter it up. All right, right on here. And that's our base. We're exactly F4. There we go. So we've adjusted the light. And it's not as far back as the Aperture light. It's slightly in front of where we had the Aperture 600, about 3 feet. So I'm pretty impressed with the power output. Let's go ahead and meter up the color now and see what we're cooking here with. So here we are, we got light meter coming back online here. And here we go. We're gonna do it right next, just like the same way. And here we go. 5268K. So basically we have it at 5600. We're about 320 off of K, so it's slightly off. Then we have the 95.9. So the color rating is actually better than the Aperture 600. I'm sorry, the CRI rating. Let's go ahead and bring that up real quick. So we'll bring that up, stand by. Let's look at the CRI and see how the numbers work out. All right, here's the CRI, and man, 95.9. That's really awesome. That's actually a little bit better than the Aperture, because the Aperture came at 94.9. So it's one whole RA unit, basically, CRI unit off. So there's an average up here. This is what this number is, 95.9. And you can see we have a lot more red in the line, and the blue channel is slightly off. So let's go ahead and take a look at the spectrum now. All right, so now we have up the spectrum. Looks great. I can tell you that it's a little bit different than the other one, and this color accuracy of the Nanlite 500 is actually a little bit more accurate than the Aperture 600, but the Nanlite is not as powerful. It's a little bit weaker. Next up is the Holy Grail, an HMI light. HMIs have been known in the film industry to be awesome lights, daylight balanced, super accurate, and super powerful. Before all the LED lights, well, I was shooting HMI lights. And they say, ARRI says it's the sun. So what we have right here is the ARRI 1200 PAR, and we're gonna go ahead and meter it up. So we're right at f4, just like I thought we would be. And honestly, that light is pretty much where we had the Nanlite. So the Aperture was further back than the 1200. So the 1200 and the Nanlite are literally in the same position in the studio to get us the f4 on our model here. Okay. Hey guys, if you like what we're doing and you're a fan of what we do, like and subscribe, share this with your friends. It helps us to do more cool videos like this, because I know I'm not the only one thinking about buying lights and saying, hey, what light looks the best? All right, you guys, thank you. Okay, now, the color meter. Let's see how accurate the old school HMI is, which is also the most expensive light in the mix. There we go. And we're gonna hit the measure right there, right to my 4x. Okay. And let's see here. Text here. And 5692. So it's literally almost perfectly on the Kelvin temperature at 56.92, which is pretty awesome. Now, let's go ahead and look at the CRI, which should be great. Whoa, that's a surprise. Honestly, I can't believe it. It's 89.4 on the CRI. There's bulbs at Home Depot that are better than this, which is kind of incredible. Now, it's an older light. Maybe the bulb has its age or something. I mean, it'd be interesting to test a brand new ARRI, but the point of the matter is the HMI, which I thought was gonna be the gold standard, isn't. So maybe you guys out there that's worked with HMIs a lot or whatever, maybe have your own opinions on it, but I find that pretty interesting that it's 89.4 on the chart. And R9 red channel is way down there, and R12, the blue channel's more up, and there's a big R14 green spike. Like the biggest green spike I've seen in all the lights. So that might tell us something about the light. I don't know what that actually means, but I can tell you right now, the HMI, big surprise for me, is the least accurate in the color index. So tell me what you guys think at home. Let's go ahead and take a look at the spectrum now. Okay, and spectrum. And wow, we got some spikes. That spectrum is all over the place. Now, when you take this outside and you have a full spectrum like the sun, there's no spikes. It's nothing but beautiful color all the way across at the very high level. So there's definitely some things going on with the HMI that don't seem as accurate. But remember, with all light tests, it's not so much what the light meter here says, the color meter and the light meter. It kind of comes down to what skin tone looks like in the camera, right? So that's why we did this test, and that's why we have Roseanne here helping us out. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what this says. What really matters is what she looks like in camera and what you guys prefer. All right, guys, well, that wraps up our test of 5 different lights shot exactly the same way with a meter for intensity and a color meter, spectrometer, and CRI all in the same mix. And a beautiful model here with great skin. Listen, guys, download the clips. We're gonna make them available. Next time you're out looking for a light, go ahead and take a look at these clips. Tell us what you think. I can tell you, bang for the buck, the 2 lights that stick out in this test for me were the Astra Sky Panel 6x and also the Nanlite 500. And the big surprise was the HMI. Not as accurate as I thought. Don't know why that is, but for all the work that ARRI puts in their light, who knows? But hey, that's what we're doing this test. So tell us what you guys think. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.